moments, and that challenged you in your come up to becoming what they describe as a property mogul?
So I'm quite interested in the fact that the term property mogul, I see myself as a real estate entrepreneur. And I know there are terms out there that, maybe the
You
media.
do know they call you property mogul, right?
Well, I see it, but I'm a real estate entrepreneur, and thank you, and I guess that's humbling. But the point is that, yes, we started from, I used to sell even beautiful rolls. So I was doing my BCom with UNISA during the times where, between me being an assistant estate agent, I then posed that. I then enrolled with UNISA so that I can be able to work and study part-time. So when I was doing my undergraduate degree for BCom with UNISA, I used to sell Biravos rolls on the side of the road because I came to Midrand, then we used to call it Midrand University.
MGI.
MGI.
You went to MGI?
I went to MGI.
I went to MGI too.
For the first year, I did my my undergraduate.
What year
first
was
there.
this?
I think should have been
99?
No, 2000, 2001.
Okay.
Okay. So I was doing that. But during that time, I was also selling Biravos rolls on the side of the road in Midrand with my younger sisters. And that was quite exciting. So, yes, we started from the bottom and still a long way to go. And so that's where there was, so that's where I actually started because I needed to make sure as well that as I'm selling houses, it takes time for you to be able to be paid your commission. I mean, you'll know the space. So I wanted to make sure that I can be able to work on a liquidity event. And I did that for about a year and a half and until I built my businesses. And we can talk about it later on because I was then given an opportunity to be able to buy a franchise for Ches Everett in Midrand.
What is it that actually qualified you for that opportunity?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will say people like you, I mean, he was lucky that he got that opportunity.
Yes.
But forgetting that there was a process that was followed for you to get to the point where in your life you were offered an opportunity like that. What had you done as a young 21, 22-year-old to be afforded that kind of opportunity?
I when I was working with Mr. Everett, I basically said to him, after a year and 2 years of working with him, I said, I see an opportunity in Midrand because I was studying here, and I see that you don't have a branch, Mr. Everett, in Midrand.
Also, there was no branch in Midrand.
There was no
at the
branch
time.
in Midrand. Yes.
Yes.
So I then, at that time, we were just under 2% black participation in the real estate space. I then said to Mr. Everett, can I be able to buy a franchise? He said, but Rali, you don't even have a car. How are you going to be able to buy a franchise? At that time, buying a franchise was almost the same price as buying a McDonald's. I then struck a deal with Mr. Everett, and I always tell young people to say, you do not need money to make money in a business, but also in real estate. I did a deal with Mr. Everett whereby I said to him, can I be able to be in a situation where I'm able to buy this franchise and pay you over a period of time? And he agreed, and he said, but how are you going to have a working capital? I brought in two partners, my brother and another CEO of Ches Everett Franchises, Mr. Barry Davis. Yeah, my big brother.
Yes.
I sold them 20% of my business for about 250K, and I used that as a working capital. Within a space of a year, I had an opportunity to sell a development that I made myself about 7 million rand at the age of 21. I was then able to pay off my franchise.
Where was the development? Was it in Midrand?
It was in Midrand.
Which one is it?
So if you look at places like Villa Montego,
yes,
in that area on Beggar Street, there was one development there. I think it was called Saint something. I think it was Saint Martin's or something. But there was a Jewish developer, Jerry Baker, who approached me and said, can you sell this development for me? When I did the numbers, I realized there's about 100K difference between the numbers that he wanted to sell the units at. And I said, Jerry.
And the value of the properties in the area.
Precisely.
Yes.
So it was below the market really. And then I asked him, he said, no, I've done my model. This is what I want to sell the units for. I then said, Jerry, can I buy this unit for you? And I think it was about a deal of, I think the value at that time was something like 30 million rand. So you can imagine at 21, I'm making an offer to buy a development with no money. I still owe the franchise fee and the purchase price of the franchise. But he gave me an opportunity to buy that development. What I then did over a space of 90
How
days.
did you buy it?
So I made an offer and I said to Jerry, give me 90 days for me to be able to give you the guarantees. At that time, it was before the NCR, where I knew that there's opportunities to be able to get people to be in a position where I can support them to be able to buy 4 units at using the same salary. It was allowed, so that we can be able to get tenants that can stay in those units. So in a space of 3 months, I'd gone out and made sure that I can get people to come and buy these units. So I'll have weekends.
So you put in an offer,
Yeah.
and then after putting in that offer, you sold the units based on the offer that you had put in. So now you are no longer operating as an agent, but
Yes.
now as an investor.
As an investor. So I had bought the units myself,
Yes.
and then I did this weekend get together.
There's a term for that. I think I'm forgetting.
Well, at that time, we didn't have terms. I was an entrepreneur. I just saw the opportunity to say I can buy this thing for R1 and I can sell it for 150.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's what I saw. And the term, we call it bootstrapping now.
Yes.
At that time, I didn't know that it's called bootstrapping. But just to summarize, I then bought these units. I managed to sell them within a space of 90 days. And I gave Jerry Baker.
You sold all the units.
We sold
within
all the
90 days.
units. Okay. During that time, it was, this was in the year 2000, 2002.
How many units were there?
There was about, I think there was about 60 units.
60 units.
Yes.
You sold
So
all of them in 90 days.
We sold them in 90 days. But remember, so we'll come to you and say, hey, we can help you to be able to buy 5 units at a go. And we'll take those offer to purchase to like 5 banks using the same salary. And then you will back that by a lease. So there's a lot of people that were coming in here. There were students as well that were coming from Botswana, that they were getting paid for accommodation and school fees by their own government. So there was a lot of influx of students that were coming from Botswana that were looking for accommodation. We'll then get the leases, and then we'll get the investors to buy about 5 units. So we had a lot of people that bought those units as investors. And
I found the term back to back.
well, you can call it back to back, but
Yes.
at the end of the day, it's exactly that, and it's legal. And
Yeah.
we'll talk about it at a later stage because I end up getting in trouble in selling some of the
Because
big
you
piece
did
of
that
land.
with the government.
With
but
the
we'll get
government.
into that
Yeah.
with that government deal.
So I did that when I was young.
Yeah.
And it was legal because I had learned that
It's
you can
still legal.
Yeah, it's still legal.
Yeah.
I had some media houses want to make it illegal, but I think I had an opportunity to take them to school and actually
Teach them.
teach them. you
Yeah.
know. So we'll talk about that. but the bottom line is that that's what I did. So I went to Jerry Baker. I gave him the guarantees. I had then be able to manage to sell the units for 7 million rand more. I gave him the guarantees. There were, I think at that time I had to give him about 48 individual guarantees because people had to go. And I had a law firm, I think at that time was Rocha